your host, Michelle Marchant Johnson with Love Life Coaching, and I am partnering with some of my very favorite experts out there to help give you tools and resources and inspiration so that you can find the love that you desire, attract the love that you desire, and enjoy the relationship of your dreams starting right now. So I'm really excited to welcome back a returning guest. He's always very popular, and I just love his energy. And that is the wonderful Hemal Radia. Welcome, Hemal.
Thank you, Michelle. Honored to be here.
So happy to have you here. Hemal is the author of Find You and You Find Everything, The Secrets to the Law of Attraction. He is a super coach and international speaker. And Hemal, one of the things that I love about you is I really believe that we can create powerful things in our lives by the way we think and the way we approach things. And even though 2020 for many people has had its challenges, you and I were talking right before we started recording this, from an energetic standpoint, we still are empowered to create amazing things in our lives. And I believe that love can find a way. So I really want to tap into your wisdom and into your knowledge and understanding of how things work in the universe and how we can really be powerful creators in our lives, especially in the area of our love lives, how we can partner with the universe, God, whatever people believe in, to really create the things that we want in our lives. And specifically, of course, we're focusing on attracting, inviting love into our lives.
Absolutely, Michelle. The thing is this, we tend to assume our realities are static and fixed, but actually they're very dynamic. Everything is fluctuating energy. It just gives the illusion of solidity because it just fluctuates so fast. Kind of like the movies where a picture flickers 24 times and you have movement, basically. It's the same here. So everything around us, tables, chairs, humans, we're all fluctuating bits of energy. And so, obviously, we're going to talk very much about law of attraction and manifesting. So really, there's a corresponding law in the universe, which is the law of attraction, which is what we think we tend to attract more of. So what we think has an energy. Our thoughts have an energy. How our emotions have an energy. And so they're very magnetic. And so we attract the reality. We attract the circumstances that reflect that same energy. So in terms of, we said about attracting love and also 2020 and 2021. So the thing is, everything that's happening and has happened, including 2020, it's all energy. So, and also this is the thing, people will have had different experiences in 2020 than others. And
Right.
Why is that? Because we offer different energy. So we're all very different energetically in what we offer. So the thing I would say to our viewers is, how would you like 2021 to be for you? What if it's the best year of your life? So if you look at what's around you and if you think things are fixed in terms of, there's still a pandemic going on and I can and can't do this and the authorities are saying this, everything is a reflection of our energies. So shift it to how you would like things to be. Take your attention off the things that you think are fixed and that prevent you from doing what you'd like to do, and put your attention on the energy and the feeling of how you'd like this year to go. So how would you feel if come December 31st, 2021, you've had the best year of your life? You've achieved everything that you wanted to. You found love. And not only have you found love, you've had it for so long and you're so familiar with it and you love it so much and your days are richer and more expansive than they've ever been. What would that feel like? So get into that energy. Now, bring that energy back to now, at the start of the year. So what does it feel like going forward with this knowingness that this is how your year is going to play out? Then take your attention off everything else and put it on the energy, and then see how that organizes and orchestrates all the things that you'd like to happen. So really, same with love or anything else, put your intention that this is going to be the best year of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you're touching on something really important that I just want to put the accent mark on. So this goes beyond just having positive thoughts, although I think our thoughts are incredibly powerful, and actually that we're creating with our thoughts. I know that in Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, he talks about with the words that we speak or with the thoughts that we think that we are actually creating. And I do believe that we're in the creative process when we do that. But you're taking it another step further as well, to actually getting into the feeling part of it, of experiencing the feeling part of what it actually would feel like, how you actually feeling that energy of having had the best year of your life or having attracted the love of your life into your life. And I think that's an important thing to just kind of put the accent mark
Yeah.
on.
I absolutely agree. And the key thing manifestationally is the feeling. So over the years, when people say, oh, law of attraction doesn't work or manifesting doesn't work, it's usually because they've maybe written down what they've wanted, but there hasn't been a feeling there, or there's not been the belief there. So it's the emotion around it. That's actually what the creative force is. So you could, I remember several years ago, I worked with a client who wanted to manifest a husband. And I asked her to, for the following conversation, for her to send me in what she had worked on. So she sent me in like a Word document with about, I think, 7 pages of like a checklist of about 400 points of what she wanted. And I said to her, for example, he's got to live within 3 miles of where she lives. He's got to be vice president of his company. He's got to be this, that, etc., etc. I said to her, this is a shopping list, but there's no emotion here. And that's why you've struggled to attract the man that you've wanted. So, and this is the thing, even if you don't have a checklist, but you're in the energy of what you want, the feeling of it, you'll attract it. It's the energy. That's the key thing. And the other thing, one more thing we'll add to that is it's not just the feeling, but it's the congruent feeling. So what I mean by that is if you're saying to yourself, oh, it feels amazing to have this relationship, amazing to have this partner in my life, but at the back of your mind, there's a voice that when you're saying to yourself, but it's going to be like all the others, or what if it doesn't work out? You're now splitting that energy. So no, you don't want to do that. You want to live your life as if you're congruent and you know this is going to work out, no shadow of a doubt, basically. You've got to be in that energy. So the reason most people don't get what they want is either they're not in that feeling place, or on some level they're in that feeling place, but they're not staying there. So suddenly someone will say something, or they'll have a disappointment. Maybe they go on maybe they're in a great feeling place and they attract a date. And let's say that date doesn't work out ideally. And then they start to think, oh, maybe it doesn't work, and they doubt themselves. The thing to do is when you're in that feeling place, everything that's coming into your life now is part of that journey. So even if something doesn't work out, that's still part of that journey. It's okay. So take, when you're in the right energy, the things that show up are taking you to where you need to go. Sometimes it might be you're going to learn something from an experience that you're going to transform yourself to be even more, shall we say, ready for what you really, really want. So the thing is, get into the energy of it and stay there. Assume the knowingness. Manifesting and law of attraction are not a part-time job. You've got to be congruent, because if you're not congruent, if you're not, it's like, to attract something, you've got to transform yourself in the process. And so oftentimes when people try and use law of attraction or manifesting, they'll visualize something, but they haven't fully transformed. So it's like if they're trying to attract more money or they're trying to attract love, but deep down, they keep focusing on not wanting to be alone. So notice when someone says, I don't want to be alone, what are they focusing on? Being alone. Exactly. Or someone, when they want money, they keep saying, well, I don't want to be poor, or I wish I could pay off my debt. I wish I could pay off my debt. What do they keep repeating? So take your energy of what you don't want, put it on what you do want, because like I was saying a moment ago, manifestation and law of attraction is a transformational process. It's not just a temporary thing. Otherwise, if it's a temporary thing, you might not get results, or if you do, they'll be short-lived. It's about transforming yourself to live the life that you want to live. It's not just attracting someone into your life. It's someone who's going to stay in your life, and you're going to build a bountiful and beautiful and fulfilling and loving and harmonious and amazing relationship. What would that be like? What would it be like having lived with them for a year or 2 or 5 years or 10 years? What's that feeling like? So build that in, rather than, because sometimes some people have had disappointment and they just want to attract someone who's great. Okay, they'll attract that someone, but what is it that you really want? What's the big picture? It's a relationship, potential marriage, if that's what you want. What is it you would like? So start to also think big picture. It might not be easy right straight away, because sometimes people don't always have the vibe always attuned. So it's okay to think of attracting someone into your life. That's fine. When you're familiar with that vibe, that energy, you can then expand it to something even more. It's like, if you want to be a millionaire, it might be that you can't think of that right way. It feels too big. So you start off thinking like, oh, well, I'll attract $1,000 or £1,000, or maybe then 10,000 or 100,000, and it gets easier and easier. So you're expanding your vibe progressively, where then what you want is just feel so natural and you're living in the energy of it. Then the way to manifest is, I've already got this. This is done. The universe is taking care of it. And my job is to stay in a good vibe as best as possible and enjoy my life. Then what happens is everything that you do in your life is projected with that energy, and you start to see your outcome in what happens, or the little stepping stones along the way. And so everything that you need will show up along the way in that energy. The energy is the key thing. And so when you're in that energy, you're in that confidence and that knowingness, it comes in much more quickly, rather than if you're doubting or fearing or if you're conflicted. And one more quick thing, and again, maybe it'll be something we'll come back to, is good question to ask yourself is, if I could have what I want right now, how would I feel? So if you want an amazing relationship, how does it feel? Notice, is there any hesitation? Is there a flick of fear or a bit of conflict? That's a clue. And again, I'm sure we'll come back to that one.
Or your cynical mind, the cynical mind is saying, that's not possible for me.
And that's
on
the clue.
some level. And sometimes the tricky part about this, I find, Hemal, is that some of the stuff is more on the unconscious level. Like, we're not always conscious of the ways that we are sabotaging ourselves, right?
Yep.
It's like it's a deep-seated belief that maybe we're not even fully aware of. I know I found that in my own journey. Like,
yes.
After I reached the age of 40 and still hadn't met the love of my life, it felt like I was succeeding in all these other areas of my life. And I felt like I was bumping my head up against a wall in my love life. I kind of had to realize, okay, you know what? I've kind of given my own plan a good shot here. I gave it a good try. And one of the things that I discovered once I got some support around this is that I did have some really key self-limiting beliefs and some behaviors that were sabotaging me, but I had not clearly seen them until I got some support, because a lot of the beliefs were operating more on the unconscious level. Like, I can remember once, I'll just give you a really quick example. This is one of the things that kind of brought it forward. I was sitting on a plane. I was flying from Salt Lake City to New York City, so about a 4-hour flight, and it was an evening flight, and I was sitting next to this man, and over the course of the flight, we had a nice conversation, and it was comfortable and relaxed and enjoyable. And at one point he said, well, so are you married? Do you have kids? And he wasn't hitting on me. I didn't feel uncomfortable in that way. He was just inquiring about me. And it was like this voice came out of me, Hemal, that said, no, and I don't know that I ever will.
Yep.
And I'm like, where did that come from? I'm like, I didn't know that I really believed that. But it was like, that's what came out.
Yeah. And, you're absolutely right. I totally agree. The subconscious is the key thing. The unconscious is the key thing. That's why many and most people who don't successfully manifest whatever it is, whether it's love or jobs or money or anything else, it's because they haven't tapped into that. They're working on a very superficial conscious level, and they think they're doing what they need to do, but actually they're not dealing with all that's underneath that. And that's why a moment ago I said, notice the feeling. So if you could have what you wanted right now, if you could have what you want right now, how do you feel? And is there any hesitation? And are there any doubts that come up? If there were any doubts, what would they be? Just start writing. That's going to give you your unconscious stuff. So the way, if you're not sure if there's something getting in the way unconsciously, is ask yourself, how would I feel right now? And it should feel pretty good. If you're really excited about it, it should be that excitement should be coming through. If not, ask yourself, why am I not totally excited? If there was any hesitation, what would it be? And get a piece of paper, just start writing. Don't think about it, just start writing. That's coming from your unconscious. So oftentimes, someone will say, it's about time. Okay, well, why are you focusing? Notice the energy of it's about time. The implication is, I'm taking too long. I should have done this sooner. How's that feel? Doesn't feel very good. That's part of the corresponding energy. So take that thought out of it. You can work with that thought. You can soothe it. You can say, you know what? I am where I am. I'm going to adore where I am now, where I am right now, and I'm going to make peace with it. So let that thought go. What else comes up? You might see pictures of family or friends sort of laughing at you or teasing you about of still being single, for example. Okay, so take those memories away. You can zoom them further away in your mind if you like. You can turn them off like you turn off a light or a TV screen. So take that out of it. How does it feel now? So bit by bit, work with these unconscious thoughts. What you'll find then, your goal will feel more compelling, it'll feel more real, and it'll feel much more closer in your mind as well. Because then that's what stops us. That's why sometimes we don't follow through. We don't take the actions because we're not really congruent about it, and we're not even aware we're not congruent. And so the feeling is the clue. Really, what you want to do, you want to get to a point where you can literally taste what you want. You're like relishing having it, basically, whatever your goal might be. So, and then ask yourself, what would make it feel absolutely amazing for me? What would make me feel totally excited, like a 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100 for it? How do I need to think about it? What if I know it's imminent? What if I know it's all working out for me? What if everything that's maybe all the disappointment or whatever that's happened, maybe they were all part of that path for me to now have what I want. How would that feel? So you're reframing disappointment as well. So it might be you might be dwelling on the past. Maybe you've been through a divorce or a breakup that's challenged you. Maybe you feel like you've had the best love of your life so far. And what I'll say on that is it's all energy. So I've often worked with clients where they'll say that they've experienced love and they won't be able to have something like that again. And I'll say, okay, why would you want to think that way? What if actually the universe can delight you even more? And one more thing you were saying just now, Michelle, like you said, when you turn 40. So sometimes people will say things like, oh, because I'm 40 or 50 or 30 or whatever it might be, I can't really now be happy. Or I'm a single parent, they might say, and I can't be happy. Or I live in the wrong town or the wrong country. It's all
too
energy.
late for me.
Oh yes, exactly. It's too late for. Remember, everything is energy. It's what we started with earlier today about this year and 2020 and so on and so on and 2021 is that it's all energy. It's how you see the year. It's how you see yourself. It's how you see your life. The universe is totally malleable. It will bring in what you want no matter what conditions there are. But what happens is when you define yourself by conditions, then the universe will reflect how you define yourself. So if you believe I'm 40 and I can't be happy, or I'll have to make a do, or whatever it might be, or I can't really be happy now. So then the universe will reflect your beliefs. So what about having beliefs like, you know what, because I'm 40, I'm going to be even happier now. Because you could turn it around, because of where I am now, because of my past, I can really have everything that I want. These are all just beliefs. It's whether you use them against you or use them with you. And so it's about being congruent about them. And then the universe will project and manifest what you're most congruent about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the belief system has to be aligned. It has to be real. We can't really just fake it, right?
Yep.
It has to be real because that's what gives us that congruence also in our feelings, and I think allows us to be divinely guided on the path that is likely to get us there. And also we don't have our thoughts self-sabotaging us before we even get up to bat. That's what can happen so often, whether it be in dating or whether it be in manifesting money or a better career or whatever it is. Our thoughts can get us, they can stop us in our tracks before we even really get a chance to get up to bat. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, and really what we're saying here is you're kind of pre-paving your thoughts, your beliefs basically by working through them. And so the clue is, how does it feel? How does the goal feel? So if you're hesitating, I'll give you an example. Oftentimes I've worked with women who'll say, Hemal, there aren't men out there that want to commit. There's just men don't want to commit. And I'll say, well, usually I believe everything that we attract is a reflection of ourselves on some level. So how do you feel about committing? And they'll say, oh, I feel great. I'm fine about committing. I'll say, okay, well, what if you met a guy today who wants to spend the rest of his life with you? How would that feel? Really, if you met a guy today, how would that feel? And then they're like, and they'll hesitate, and I'll say, okay, what's that hesitation? So notice it's very very subtle sometimes. If they're hesitating, that's a clue. Why are they not sort of relishing it? And they'll say, well, I could lose my freedom, I could lose my independence. I mean, could it be is it the right guy? Okay, but notice you're kind of assuming it is or isn't the right guy. What if you've got the energy that is going to be the right guy? And when you're hesitating in terms of freedom and losing your independence, that's what's making you stutter. And so you're attracting men who are not going to work out, because deep down you're actually scared of going into something wholly and fully, because you're scared of losing your freedom and your independence. So you're attracting men that subconsciously fit into what you're comfortable with right now, which is not having commitment. But when you're fully ready for commitment and you're relishing it, and you've ironed out the thoughts in your mind. And so what I mean by that is, if someone's saying, oh, well, what if he's the wrong guy? Well, why are you focusing on that? Because again, remember what we said earlier. Are you focusing on what you want or what you don't want? What if you said to yourself, what if I attract the right guy? And what if he's the perfect guy to commit to? What's that feel like in your body? And she would then say, oh, that feels really, really good. That's the energy you want. Why would you want to be thinking of what you don't want? And so what will happen is, when you're zoned in on what you want, you'll filter out the wrong ones. When someone's focused on what they don't want, they'll filter out the right ones, and they'll attract the wrong ones, basically. So again, all about having your attention on what is it that you really want, and noticing that there's no hesitation about it. If there is hesitation, iron out what your other subtle thoughts are. If you're not feeling great, then if you're not feeling totally excited or great about it, then ask yourself, why not? How am I perceiving this? How am I conceptualizing this in my mind? Do I believe long-term relationships are risky, or marriage is dangerous, or commitment is this or that, or whatever, or intimacy is scary, or whatever else? So these are all concepts that we have and beliefs that we have to iron them out. What about intimacy is amazing with the right person? Marriage can be great. It's like being with the person that you don't want to be without now, sort of thing. And so is commitment, and so on and so on. So iron these out where you're pointing in the right direction, and then you attract someone where you just can't wait to be with, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very, very well said, the way you describe that, because it allows us to be in that energy where we're not blaming forces outside of ourselves. It's actually really empowering, because we're not saying, oh, it's because of the men, or there's no good men in my city, state, or country, or because none of the men want to commit, or whatever, some of the things that you and I hear frequently. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity where you get to have power. It's empowering. It's empowering when you can do this, and you're not like having to say, oh, it's all these things that are completely outside of my influence or control, and so I can't have what I want.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like what you just said there reminded me. Notice the belief that you have about your reality. Do you believe there are no eligible men out there, or there aren't the right men anymore now, or it's difficult now? So notice your beliefs, not just about your life, but about reality, about the world. What your culture says. Does your culture say you shouldn't? I mean, I know some Eastern cultures, they say, oh, don't remarry, or etc. If you've been through a divorce or a bereavement or whatever else. Notice what are your beliefs about reality, and what are your cultural beliefs. So ask yourself, do these beliefs serve me, or do they not? So expand beyond them. Again, like we said earlier, age, the year, your profession, whether you're a single parent or not, none of that needs to matter. It's all about how you believe about it. So it's all about your perception. Like I said earlier, the universe is totally malleable, including your own reality, including everything around you. As you shift that, you'll find things will start to show up. People will start to show up in your life. Suddenly, people will show up, will inspire you with stories, because now you're resonant to that energy. If you believe like it's not going to work out for you, you'll start to attract stories that will reflect that. So again, oftentimes people look at what happens around them and the things that they see in the media and whatever else, and it tells them like, oh, well, maybe it's not possible for me. Oh, look at her. She went through such a tough time, and maybe I don't want that. Notice everything's out there. Happy stories and sad stories and disappointing stories and great stories. Everything is a reflection. So it's really about you taking charge of your energy and where you want to point your attention. The universe will then honor that and reflect that back to you. So it doesn't matter what you've seen before. It doesn't matter if you've had some really bad relationships and you've not met the right one. It's okay. It's shifting away from that. Don't look at that. Don't look at what doesn't serve you, because you're just projecting more of that energy instead. And even if you haven't had a great relationship, it's okay. What if there is a great relationship? What would that feel like? What would it be like? So oftentimes people find it more easier to and more familiar to focus on past experiences than what they would like to create in the future. So turn away from that, because again, if your past isn't amazing, create a future that's amazing and let that pull you towards it. And that's what manifesting is about. It's not about pushing away from the past. It's not about pushing away from your present. It's about creating a vision that pulls you towards it. So that's how you want it to be. Your manifesting is really about pulling you towards where you want to go.
Yeah. And you know what? I really like this idea of being really clear about what you want to go, where you want to go, and being really clear about what it is you want to draw into your life, because I do believe that our abilities to draw into our lives what we desire is incredibly powerful. And you know how there's the saying, Hemal, that says when you are clear about the what, in this case, what it is you want to attract into your life, the how kind of figures out itself. So in other words, what I believe is once we're really clear about the what and what it is we're really wanting to draw into our lives, attract or accomplish or that sort of thing, when we have that clarity, it's like the how, the steps start to appear. Like we start to be guided with inspired action. I mean, I have felt like that in my own life in certain aspects where something is created in my mind. This is, I think, part of the creative process. And then I can imagine it, I can feel it. And then it's almost like I feel like I get I call them divine downloads, I kind of feel like I get like inspiration on the journey, and I'll wake up in bed and I'll go, wow, that's an idea. That's something really powerful. Like I feel like I get help, assistance. Now, in my case, I believe in God, so it's, I believe I get divine assistance, whether you believe it's the universe or whatever your belief is. I believe that there are forces out there that can support us on our way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you said the what and the how, 100% agree. And one more factor I would add to that is with the what, the why. That's the juice, the desire, basically, and that ties in with what I said earlier, the feeling. So people don't necessarily want a relationship or money; they want how that will make them feel. So how will I feel when I have it? That, and then you want to amp up the why, basically. So much so that you just can't wait to have it, sort of thing. And then the how will automatically pop out into your reality; it'll come into your life. So that's the thing. If you get the why and the what right, powerful enough, the how inevitably will show up. You can't resist it at that point, basically. So it's like if it's not happening, explore the what and the why. And so clean up the what, make sure it's about what you do want, and make sure, ask yourself why, and notice how you're feeling as you talk about it. If you're not really feeling a lot, ask yourself, why not? Is it, do I doubt it? Because oftentimes people will do this exercise, the what and the why, but they won't really be fully feeling it when they do the why. So, okay, why? Are you scared? Do you think it can't happen? So it's then cleaning up that thinking, really. It's having that, like we said earlier, it's like pointing the beliefs in terms of how you want things to be. What if I can have it all? What if it's all possible for me? And it is, by the way. So how would I feel if this is really totally on, basically, that all the things I told myself why it wouldn't be possible or why it might not be, none of that's true. What if actually I really, really, really can have it now? What would I really go for now? And then as you step into that, like you're saying, Michelle, that the how comes, and it's just it's very natural at that point. So it's like when you get into the what and the why, you're actually shifting your own vibration, your own energy. And so what happens in the how naturally permeates, like we said earlier, it's resonant to the how. It can't not be. So the how will automatically then start to come into your life, either through your own thinking or through someone that you come into, or suddenly you'll see an idea will come to you, or you'll see something on the television, or you'll be talking to someone, and the how will appear, basically. So it's really about getting the energy right, the what and the why, and then everything else will orchestrate itself from that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really well said. So do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go for it.
So can you give us an example of how or in what way you feel like this process has worked in your own life?
Yeah, I mean, I find that when I work through my own thinking, what I want comes to me oftentimes within a few days. So it's really about the key thing is getting deeper. And like we said, I mean, everything we've talked about earlier, I totally relate to that in terms of the subconscious. And so what I found, if I'm going to add my own personal experiences to it, what we said is just going deep enough to get to the subconscious stuff. So I said earlier, like, for example, what stops you? What makes you hesitate? What if you don't have it right? What if you don't get it? What if, what are your thoughts about this subject? And notice stuff will come up. So when you clear that, you then do it again. You'll then get some other deeper layers. And so you keep doing that a few times. And eventually, once you've gotten the deeper stuff out, then what you want will start to come in automatically, basically. So it's just going deep enough. It's asking yourself the questions we've said and addressing it. So it's shifting your perspectives. Some things it might be just taking some memories out of your mind, maybe in terms of certain pictures you have in your mind. What if those pictures aren't in your mind? What if past experiences and you've got some self-talk about what people have said to you? What if that self-talk isn't there anymore? So then you say, okay, that's all out of the way. Now how do I feel about this? So it could be a relationship, it could be about marriage, it could be about moving in with someone, it could be whatever it might be, whatever the subject might be. So you then say, okay, what else comes up for me about this? So you're trying to provoke the fears and the doubts, basically. You're actually looking for them. So when they're cleared, nothing will come up. That's what will happen, you see. So it's not like when stuff comes up, people say, oh, but that's normal. No, well, it might be, but it's not helping you, sort of thing. So when something is really cleared, when you ask these questions, nothing will come up. Relationships and whatever it might be, whether it's career or work, whatever else it might be, it'll just feel amazing. There'll be nothing you'll be able to find, pretty much. It'll feel just very natural, very familiar, and wherever you look, it'll feel it and it'll look good, basically. And so that's when you're in the right energy to attract what you want.
Yeah, well, I think that sometimes just bringing these things to the surface and being able to look at them is a big step towards resolving them, because a lot of times we can't resolve them if we don't even know what they are, what's getting in the way. And so sometimes if we can bring them to the surface, like you said, we're kind of provoking these things. In my words, maybe that's bringing them to the surface so we can look at them. So then we can be in choice about whether we allow that to continue to influence us or be a part of the way that we're thinking about things. I think just bringing them to the surface in many cases actually resolves them, because we kind of go, wow, well, I don't need to believe that anymore. That's from way, way, way back when, and I don't really think that applies here.
Yeah, it's like bring the shadows to the light, and the shadows disappear of their own accord. And I do agree, bring them to the surface. And when I say provoking them, what I mean is, like, sometimes some people are very comfortable and they don't think they have any issues. So, well, then we'll often say, well, okay, well, what if you don't really meet a man? Then how would you feel? Then they'll go, well, I'll feel alone. I'll feel scared. Oh, okay. So there's some fear there. There's some feeling of alone. So sometimes people will be quite comfortable in their shells and in their comfort zones. So when I say provoke, sometimes, and when I say provoke, I mean also stimulate. So we'll ask questions like, if you do meet someone today, how would it feel? And so notice what comes up then. Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel exciting? Or does it feel a little scary? So that's what I mean by provoke or stimulate or bring to the surface, as you say, all the same thing, really. So then sometimes, we'll then realize, what am I scared of? On one hand, I want this, but on the other hand, I'm deep down, I'm actually afraid that I could have it today. So, and that's the thing. So really, whether it's love or money or anything else, it's totally being alive about it now, because that alive energy is your flow, it's your energy. So so when you're really harmonized with something, it'll be a feeling that brings more life to you. That's the thing. So I mean, we're talking about love, but I'll give you a quick example about money. So I do weekly manifesting webinars, and oftentimes people want to attract money, and I'll kind of say to them sometimes, like, okay, well, if you want money, what if I knocked on your door right now and I came inside and I put $50,000 on your dining table? How would you now feel? And so just to see what's your instant reaction to it, besides the shock of seeing me, what's your reaction to the money? And so that's just a way of kind of provoking the feelings around money. How do you feel alive or excited, or now are you scared? Who's going to see me with this money? Who's going to want to borrow money off me, etc., etc.? Notice what thinking comes up. Same with love. What if someone knocks on your door today and they're absolutely perfect for you? How do you feel about it? And notice your instinctive reaction. And that's the thing. The unconscious stuff is the instinctive thing. Conscious is more logical, rational, figuring it out. But the unconscious is instinctive. It's associative. So how do you feel if you met someone today and they're absolutely wonderful? What's your instinctive reaction to it? And that'll come through in your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want you to know you're welcome to show up on my doorstep with $50,000.
Yes.
Come on over.
like this video if you'd like me to do that. Subscribe now.
Exactly. So I know one of the things that comes up for people, I'll touch on this and then we'll start wrapping up here. I know for people that maybe feel like they've been in relationships that haven't worked out. I hear from women sometimes, I always pick the wrong guys. This again is a belief, but I always pick the wrong guys. Or, they actually feel scared to trust themselves in their own judgment, right? Because they feel like they've made mistakes. And there's also a way to frame that, like maybe these experiences were a part of the journey to teach you key things to help you to pick the right man. I mean, there's different ways at looking at that. But if there's women out there in the audience right now that are just feeling like, I don't know this, I just feel I'm scared to trust myself. I'm scared to believe that I can pick the right man, even if I do all this stuff that they're talking about. What would you say to them?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oftentimes, so you're right, it kind of then has a knock-on effect. So they've had a few bad relationships, now they're doubting themselves even more. So they're more out of the vibe, and they're more fearful of what's next. And something amazing shows up, they're more doubtful and cynical of it, because they think, well, I know what's happened in the past, and this is just another of those, basically. And so again, we have to sort of go back a bit, like, what's the source of it? Sometimes it could be self-esteem. They don't believe they're worthy of a great man, for example, and so they attract a bad relationship, and then they doubt themselves even more, and so they're kind of just adding to it as a knock-on effect. So it's first of all going back a bit and maybe handling some of the emotions around it and being at peace with it. It's like, you've been through whatever you've been through, but being cynical of relationships and men is not going to bring you the outcome that you want. So it's being at peace with it. And what I would say, so you're right, it is like a knock-on effect, basically, because then it's like a compounding effect. So really, it's being at peace with it and asking yourself, if someone showed up today who is wonderful, how would you feel? Notice your instinctive reaction. It might be, oh, well, maybe he's just like all the others. So this is the thing, though. Now, despite whatever your past is, at some point, the goal is that for you to be in a great relationship. That's the goal, basically. It doesn't matter what's happened before. So it's like, how do I work through my thoughts now going forward to have something amazing, regardless of what I've thought in the past or whatever I've believed about men and relationships in the past? How do I go forward? First of all, I've got to drop all that bit by bit. So, okay, my instinctive thought is it's just like all the others. Okay, well, if I didn't have any bad relationships in the past, how would I feel right now? So you're kind of setting a neutral canvas, basically, of energy. Okay, I would feel better about it. Okay, so remember what I said, go like look for the next layer. What's next? So again, if I attracted an amazing man now, how would I feel? Can that really happen? Oh, okay, well, what if it can? So notice when someone says, can that really happen? Notice the energy of it. It's not an affirmative, powerful energy. It's like a questioning energy. So they're not really fully believing it, which means there's doubt there. And so turn that to like to an affirmative energy, which is, what if it can? What if it actually is happening for me right now? How would I feel? Oh, I feel good. Okay, so it's working for me and I meet a man today. What else comes up? Could this be the one? Again, it's a question. Okay, let me turn it into an affirmative statement. What if he is the one? Or what if it can be the one? How would I feel now? Oh, I feel even better now. Okay, so I know it is happening and this is the one for me. What's it feel like now? So then stay in that energy. If it feels good, stay in that energy. Notice if there's any other critical or cynical thoughts, adjust them, tweak them, basically. So it doesn't matter what the past is. This is the thing. No matter what your past is, the only thing that gets in the way is that your focus on it. If you didn't focus on that and you get back to the now or in the future or anywhere else, basically, that feels better, but not there, you're in a much better place. So sometimes it's just a matter of don't look at the past. Even that will help you, just because you're then in a neutral place. Even that, it's helpful, rather than if you can't imagine a great outcome, because sometimes it's not easy to think of an amazing future right away. So sometimes just getting neutral is okay. Just staying in a neutral space and then allowing yourself space to build something more positive and powerful from that place. So that's okay as well. Yep.
Yeah, and I think you said a key thing here that, again, I want to emphasize, Hemal, and that is, you said if that energy feels good, to stay with it, because we're not talking here about like deceiving yourself or ignoring red flags or having blind or rose-colored glasses on to the point that you've got blinders on, right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah, I think it's what you said earlier. I can't remember. There's something you touched upon earlier, basically, in terms of, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing. It could be said that everything is a blind, every belief is, sort of thing. But yes, it's not putting yourself in risky situations, etc., etc. It's being objective as well, but it's also not being unfair on yourself either. That's really what we're saying. It's giving yourself a fair chance. It's notice if you're being cynical, if you're being, and then if something's unhealthy or whatever, get advice if you need it, get an objective opinion, sort of thing. So but it's really giving yourself a fair shot. It's not taking yourself out of your flow before you've even met someone. It's not prejudging something, and something isn't right, stepping away from it, and then again reorient your feelings towards what you want, and continue again, sort of thing, in terms of another partner or whatever else. So it's always being aware of your feelings. So it's not being cynical to yourself or your future or whatever else. But yes, it's also being objective as well. And anything is possible. Everything is possible. So staying in the right energy to create that potential. And so, because sometimes, when we're cynical and we're doubtful, ask yourself why. Because sometimes it might be, we go on a date with someone, and let's say a woman goes on a date with a guy, and she thinks like, oh, something feels off about him. And if we ask her, if we get a bit more specific why, and she might say, oh, it's his voice. And then we'll say, what is it about his voice? And she might then say, it reminds me of an ex of mine, or it reminds me of a teacher of mine. And I didn't really like them. Okay, so that's fine. But is there something then wrong with this guy just because of his voice? And then she might say, oh, well, actually, you know what? I'm prejudging just based on the voice. Actually, he could be a really, really nice guy. Actually, maybe I kind of prejudged that voice. So there's nothing wrong with the guy. So notice when you sometimes don't feel great about something, ask yourself, what is it? Get a bit more sensory specific. Is it the voice? Is it how they are? Is it a certain mannerism? Is it that they're very assertive? Sometimes yes. If it's a red flag or a yellow flag, it's unhealthy. Yes, but just getting more specific about it, because otherwise, sometimes what happens is people will go into situations and they might go on 10 dates and always have a bad feeling. And there's a common denominator here, which is us. So if it keeps happening, explore. It's like there's a saying which is it's easier to wear slippers rather than carpet the whole world. So it's like what are we projecting as well? So it's getting clear with that. At least even if you say no, at least you know why, and you're clear on it, and you're doing it objectively. And so this woman could have said yes. I don't like the voice, or at least I know what it is basically and why, because it reminds me of my teacher, or it reminds me of an ex of mine. It's not quite for me. And that's okay. Or she might say, you know what? besides the voice, actually, he could be an amazing guy. Let me get to know him even better and then decide, sort of thing. So again, it's just being a bit more objective and a bit more sensory specific about what we experience and aware. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the key of what you said there is then we're not prejudging or predetermining based on just something that might be going on with us that may not actually be true. But we're not talking about putting on blinders or just like pulling yourself into believing that everything is perfect, wonderful all the time with everybody. We're paying attention to that feeling throughout that process.
And the other thing is, if you're looking for like a long-term relationship, potential marriage, or even a long-term partner, life is a long journey. People do transform, including yourself. So it's being with someone where you can happily and healthily transform together. So, the person that you marry or that you enter a long-term relationship with is probably going to transform over the years, as are you. There'll be stresses, whether it be financial or whatever else it might be, health issues or whatever it might be, moving home, whatever it might be. So you're going to transform. It's being with someone that you can transform together. And then, because assume that there will be transformation. Isn't there the classic joke, something like, women go with a guy they think they can change, and men go with a woman who they think will always be the same, and neither are really true. So it's really about so it's being with someone that you can transform together with, sort of thing. So things will change. Assume that, and it's having the type of relationship where you can healthily and happily do that together, and in a very fulfilled way.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, this has been a really fun conversation, Hemal. I always enjoy talking with you so much, and I really like the energy and passion that you bring to this work that you do in the world. So thank you so much again, Hemal.
Thank you, Michelle. And let me just echo what Michelle said. It's all about the energy. Assume 2021 is going to be your year, the best year of your life. Don't worry about what's happening in the world. It's the best year of your life. And I totally agree. And thank you, Michelle.
My pleasure. Be sure to join us for more. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye-bye for now.